Hi guys, I'm Amariah and I'm excited to present to you the Texas Western Miners of 1966. They were an incredible group of young men, along with their coach, who helped open up the door for the African American population in the world of basketball. Today, we still see the African American as a major asset to the world of sport entirely. The Texas Western Miners helped bring a lot of respect to the African American race. They had to go through a lot of racial acts throughout their seasons. It wasn't easy for them, but they still pushed through. I believe them to be the biggest impact because still today we see their hard work paid off. They definitely left their mark, and I'm very excited to present that to you. So here we go. The Texas Western Miners consisted of 12 basketball players, 7 African Americans, Willie Cager, Neville Shedd, Willie Worsley, Orson Artis, Harry Flournoy, David Lattin, and Bobby Joe Hill. 4 Anglo-Americans, Jerry Armstrong, Togo Rayleigh, Louis Bedoin, and Dick Myers. And 1 Hispanic, David Palacios. And they were coached by the legendary Don Haskins. This segment of history began in El Paso, Texas, at Texas Western University, now known as the University of Texas at El Paso, or UTEP. Coach Don Haskins was a man who changed the image of basketball forever. Before coaching at Texas Western, he was a high school girls and boys basketball coach. His colorblind approach to coaching opened the door for many African Americans across the sport world. Coach Haskins received hate mail as well throughout his time coaching the Miners. He was an incredible coach and was enshrined into the Hall of Fame in 1977. NCAA championship, Coach Haskins started 5 black players. This had never been done in history. Let's look at it. As you can see in the video, the first 5 players were all black, where all of the University of Kentucky players were white. This NCAA championship game was played in College Park, Maryland, March 19, 1966. The Miners beat the Wildcats that night, 72-65. After this game, we saw the color barrier and the racial wall in basketball begin to come down. Coach Don Haskins stated that he was not trying to make a statement. He was only playing his best players, which all happened to be black. Throughout the 1960s, blacks were still seen as inferior in sport as well as in society. We saw a lot of racism in the South and a lot of segregation. When people thought of basketball, they thought of white athletes, coaches, and fans, not blacks. It was hard for blacks to have a chance in the spotlight in sport. During the national championship, Confederate flags were waved from the stands. The Texas Western team went through a lot of racism, even throughout the game. The Texas Western Miner team was also not given a ladder so they could take off their net after they won the championship game, invited to the White House, nor invited to the Ed Sullivan Show. They did not get to participate in events as national champions. During this time, we also saw people like Martin Luther King Jr. fighting for civil rights regarding race. Racial integration was still hesitated, although the NCAA championship game sent out a powerful message. This team became an inspirational figure in the world of sport. The University of Kentucky, coached by Adolph Rupp, were ranked number 1. Not a single colored player was on that team. The Kentucky players and Adolph Rupp were not worried about the Texas Western Miners, for nobody really knew of them. They were not big time like Kentucky was. Therefore, they didn't really see them as a threat. In 2006, Disney produced a movie named Glory Road that showed the story of the Texas Western Miners. Of course, there are some events that did not happen, but it serves as a good visual aid. Coach Haskins wanted to put together a team with pure talent. Here's one scene from the movie that represents the mindset of Coach Haskins.
You gonna let a black player play from the get-go?
I don't see color. I see quick, I see skill, and that's what you have. And that's what I'm putting on the court.
Based on a true story, Glory Road gave the public a visual aid to see what it was like to be black in a white-dominant world. Showed the hard, difficult situations that these Black American players had to go through in order to prove themselves to the rest of the world. It also showed Coach Don Haskins, played by Josh Lucas, and the heart he had. He didn't care about the color of their skin, he cared about the game and the way they played and their talents. Unfortunately, attention for the game came later. After the 1966 National Championship game, Blacks began to make their way into collegiate level sports. Everyone wanted them. They became a norm. The recruitment of Black athletes was happening everywhere. In today's society, we see that the Black athlete has become a great asset in the world of sport, basketball, and society. The sport of basketball began to unite instead of divide. For the first time in history, an all-Black team defeated a white team for the national championship. This game was a turning point in basketball. Having 5 Black men and 5 white men play against each other was significant because it showed the skill that these Black men had. It showed they were capable of discipline and respect and could play at the level of any white man. After this game, nobody could say that a Black man couldn't do what a white man was capable of doing. The Texas Western Miners came in that night as the underdogs and left as the winners. Therefore, they became the conversation that everybody was having. Their names were in the paper, and people everywhere were getting to know who the Texas Western Miners were. In 2007, the entire team became enshrined into the Basketball Hall of Fame. Here's a clip of Captain Harry Flournoy and what he had to say that day.
We weren't separated. It wasn't 3 Blacks and 4 Blacks over here and the whites there and the Hispanic here. We were together. He chose us to open the door to all people, not just African Americans, but to all people who were oppressed, all people who were having doors slammed in their face because of race or gender or any other reason. People would tell you that you can't put 5 Black players out on the floor at the same time. They would ask the question, why? Because they're Black. You can't have 5 Black players out there and think that one of them is going to lead the team. Why? Because they're Black. We had to break that. We proved that a farce, a fallacy.
Although this game did alleviate many racial tensions, it still did not eradicate them completely. Today, we still see racism manifested. We still see Blacks or people of color treated poorly. This game and this team may have won over the hearts of many, but it still takes the work of everyone come together to create the most equal world. Not only were the Texas Western Miners significant and important, but they were legendary. They left their mark. They made their imprint on this world. In the recent years, we have seen them come together, reunite, and celebrate the changes they made that still reign on today in the sport world. Up next is a video of some of the players and trainers speaking on behalf of each of the players on the Texas Western team.
Willie Worsley was one of the most competitive people I had ever seen. He was strong, little bitty guy, and probably he could dunk because somebody told him that he couldn't.
Bobby Joe was the heart and soul of this team. I love that guy. It was a lot of years before I saw anybody do some things with the ball.
Jerry Armstrong, hey, hard nose. Tough defensive ball player.
David Ladden, Big Daddy D, he was an intimidator. He had that look that would intimidate you. He was big, he was strong.
Willie KJ was 100% goal. I remember him when the games were down, we would always depend on him to do whatever he needed to do.
He could play defense, and if you couldn't play for defense, you weren't going to play for Coach Haskins. But Neville was a spiritual leader. He kept the team together.
Orson Artis was the best shooting guard.
Harry Floyd, tough rebounder, automatic, tough rebounder. He gets all the balls.
Louis Bedoin, Flip was the comic relief of our team. He was a good basketball player.
David was a very determined player. David had a lot of self-discipline within himself.
Dick Meyer's mindset was, if you're going to play in front of me, then you're going to play hard every day. Because if you don't, I want that spot
Togo's Togo. I don't know what else to say about Togo. He's one of a kind. He's a great guy. Great guy.
The Texas Western Miners made the biggest impact in sport because of their willingness to play their heart out no matter what people were saying around them. They all stuck together alongside their coach and proved that they were meant to be on the basketball court. They did not let their race keep them from playing the game that they loved. Thank you for watching my presentation on the Texas Western Miners.
How far we come now.